We were thinking, maybe you could carry our baby too. Calla said it lightly, like asking me to water her plants. Miles folded his arms beside the fridge. The scent of peppermint tea floated between us. Her spoon clinked gently in the cup. I didn't scream, didn't cry, just placed one hand over my belly. Our daughter stirred slow and small. I'm already pregnant. With your child, I said. Miles shrugged. Exactly. You're already in pregnancy mode. I walked to the counter, picked up my phone, and dialed his parents, Pastor Aldrich and Evelyn Thorne. Their voices rang out on speaker. Hello, sweetheart. How's our grandbaby doing? I looked him dead in the eye. I think you should hear this from your son and his lover. Where are you listening from? Subscribe now to hear what happened when the church family found out. They say Marigold Haven is the kind of town where nothing truly hides. That's a lie. Here secrets just dress better, smile bigger, pray louder. Miles and I had what people called a perfect marriage. He wore suits like second skin, spoke gently at church dinners, and always carried 2 extra pens just in case someone needed one. I was the quiet wife. Polite smile, organized pantry, and until recently, swollen feet. We'd been trying for a baby for almost 2 years. The day that test turned positive, he cried. Held me like I'd just saved him from drowning. For the first time, I thought maybe God had given us our miracle. Calla moved back 3 months later, my younger sister, the wild one. Tattoos hidden beneath silk scarves, laughing louder than the church choir ever dared. She said New Orleans tired her out. Too much noise, too little meaning. I believed her, because I wanted to. Calla always had a way of making mess look like magic. And Miles, he said it was sweet how close we all were now. I didn't mind the sleepovers at first. Girls' nights with non-alcoholic cider-scented candles, her joking about how boring my house was. Then came the questions. How's your sex life with Miles now that you're so round? Does he still look at you like before? I'd laugh. She'd smile. And something cold would settle in the pit of my stomach. Miles started working late. Said the firm was in transition, new clients, demanding investors. He started wearing cologne on Tuesdays, pressed his shirts tighter, locked his phone, but he still kissed my forehead every night, still read baby name lists with me, still left notes on the fridge that said things like, eat more oranges, doctor's orders. It wasn't until I found her mug, Calla's World's Best Sister mug, in our dishwasher, that I noticed it wasn't just me he left notes for. Sometimes I think I knew, I just didn't want it to be true. Because in Marigold Haven, good wives smile, good wives pray, and good wives don't question what's too well rehearsed. It started with a toothbrush, pink, cheap, tucked behind the sink like it belonged. Calla said she left it after a sleepover. She laughed. I'm practically furniture now, she joked. I smiled, but something in my chest tightened. Then came the robe, mine, hung differently, still damp at noon. Miles said I probably forgot using it. Hormones, right? Pregnancy brain. Calla began arriving before I even woke. Coffee already brewed, banana bread in the oven. She'd hum along to gospel on the kitchen speaker like she lived there. You rest, big sis, she'd say. You're growing, life. Let me handle breakfast. But it wasn't kindness I felt. It was invasion. Like air shifting, like someone had rearranged the furniture inside my soul. One Sunday I came down and saw them, Miles and Calla, sitting shoulder to shoulder, laughing at something on her phone. His hand brushed hers. Too long, too soft, too familiar. They didn't see me at first. I stood there, frozen, not jealous, not yet, just confused and tired and 7 months pregnant. When he finally noticed me, Miles jumped. Morning, sweetheart, he said, too cheerful. How's my girl? I wanted to ask which girl. Instead, I walked to the fridge. The orange juice tasted sour. My throat tight. The baby kicked low, as if she felt the tension too. Calla handed me a pastry. Eat up, she chirped. We need to keep you strong. I looked at her, really looked. Her eyes didn't flinch, but her smile, it held a tremor. That night I checked Miles's phone. He'd left it on the couch. Notifications hidden, except one. Just a single letter C and a preview. Miss you already? Last night was... He walked in before I could scroll. I handed it back. Wrong message, I muttered. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and turned off the lights. But in the dark, my eyes stayed open. My daughter shifted inside me, and I began counting every lie he didn't say aloud. Calla wasn't supposed to know about the glucose test, but she did. That orange drink's nasty, huh? She smirked before I even told her I had the appointment. Miles glanced up from his laptop, said nothing. I smiled, but my stomach turned. That wasn't public knowledge. It wasn't even on the calendar. That evening I called V. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Did I tell you about my test this morning? No. Her voice sharpened. Did Miles come with you? He said he had a client call. Silence, just breath between us. Then she said it. Verena, she's always there, isn't she? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. V knew me too well. That night I couldn't sleep. The baby shifted low, pressing against nerves, sending sparks down my legs. I got up, made tea, scrolled through old photos, back when Calla only visited on holidays. Now she had a drawer, a parking spot, a seat at the dinner table, next to my husband. Something felt wrong, too many late nights, too many inside jokes. I checked the doorbell camera, not out of suspicion, out of instinct. There she was, Wednesday, 1:12 a.m. No knock, no call. She walked in with a key. My breath caught. The footage played again. Miles met her at the door, shirtless. He smiled. No hug. But their eyes, they held something. A silence too familiar. I saved the clip. Didn't cry. Didn't confront. The next day, Calla brought roses. Said she felt bad for not being more helpful. I watched her arrange them, my own sister. She looked up at me. You know, after you give birth, her voice trailed, eyes gleaming, you're gonna feel empty, like something's missing. I stared, nodded slowly, and smiled back. Because she was right. Something was missing. Trust. And once it was gone, there was no putting it back. I started playing dumb, nodding more, asking fewer questions. Miles seemed relieved. Calla got bolder. She started staying longer, even helped set up the nursery, painted clouds on the ceiling like she belonged here. You're so lucky, she said one day, hands on her hips admiring the room. Your body just knows what to do. I smiled, fingers brushing over the crib rail. Not everyone gets that, she added softly. That night I texted V. Do you still have that nanny cam? Next morning a box arrived. No questions asked. I hid it behind the bookshelf in the nursery, just in case. Days passed. Calla brought prenatal vitamins she read about. Miles cooked more, but only when she was around. I caught them whispering in the kitchen. Once her hand touched his chest, he didn't flinch. Then came the night, a Saturday. I walked into the kitchen barefoot, hearing them laugh. Calla perched on the counter. Miles leaned beside her. They fell silent when they saw me, but not guilty, prepared. He cleared his throat. We've been talking, he began. Calla slid off the counter. It's about something long-term, she said, eyes bright. Miles and we've been thinking a lot lately. I held my breath. The baby kicked. Miles stepped forward. It's not what you think. He held up his hands. No one wants to hurt you. That's not what this is, Calla added. This is an opportunity. I didn't speak. I didn't blink. Miles placed a mug in front of me. Her mug. World's best sister. They sat, too close, too calm. Miles smiled. You're already pregnant. Calla leaned in, which means your body's ready. My fingers curled around the mug, still warm, still shaking. Miles glanced at her, then back at me. What if you carried one more? The words landed like a slap, but they smiled as if they'd offered me a gift. You'd be giving us the greatest blessing, Calla whispered. I stood up slowly, legs heavy, mind clear, because now they weren't hiding, they were asking. And they thought I'd say yes. I didn't scream, didn't throw the mug, didn't collapse into tears. I just stared at them, let the silence thicken, until even their breath sounded loud. So let me get this straight, I said. You want me to carry your baby while I'm 7 months pregnant with mine? Calla nodded, like it was perfectly reasonable. We'd cover everything, she said quickly, medical, legal, postpartum care, all of it. It's just biology, Miles added. You're already in that mode. We thought, why not share the blessing? Their faces glowed hopeful, excited, sickening. I walked to the counter, picked up my phone, tapped the screen slowly. What are you doing? Miles asked. I smiled faintly. I think we should get a second opinion. Calla blinked. What do you mean? I held up the phone. Let's call your parents. Miles froze. His lips parted. No sound came out. Calla went pale. Rena, wait. No, I said softly. You said it's a blessing, right? They'd want to be part of this moment. I tapped speaker. The ring sounded once, twice, 3 times. Hello, sweetheart, Lucinda Thorne's voice poured through the kitchen like syrup. How's our grandbaby doing today? I looked at Miles, then Calla. Their mouths were moving, but I didn't hear them. Hi, Lucinda, I said. Is Pastor Aldrich there too? Right beside me, she chirped. Just got back from choir practice. Why, darling? I think your son and daughter-in-law have something they'd like to share. Calla gasped. Miles mouthed, please, don't. He reached for the phone. I stepped back, shielding my belly. Lucinda's voice crackled. What's going on, Christopher? He opened his mouth, closed it again. No words. So I filled in the silence. Well, your son and my sister have been sleeping together for a while now, and now they'd like me to be their surrogate, since I'm already pregnant. The line went dead silent. You could hear the fridge hum. You could hear Miles breathing. Then Lucinda exploded. "Christopher Michael Thorne, what have you done?" She didn't stop, not for air, not for mercy. Calla began crying. Real tears, mascara streaked, mouth open. I didn't flinch, because for the first time, I wasn't the quiet one in the room. They were still yelling when I climbed the stairs. Lucinda's voice echoed from the speaker. A hymn-turned war cry. I moved slowly each step away, but my mind crystal clear. I opened the closet, pulled out the emergency bag I'd packed for labor, just in case. Now it had a new purpose. I added a few more things: clothes, documents, ultrasound photos. The ones I took alone, without Miles. When he said he had client meetings, I paused at the nursery door, looked in. The crib, the clouds on the ceiling, the rocking chair I bought on sale. It all looked too clean, too untouched, too dishonest. Back downstairs, they were still arguing. Calla sat hunched, hands over her face. Miles paced, a child caught mid-lie. I didn't speak, just walked past them. He noticed first. "Where are you going?" he asked. His voice cracked. I turned back, met his eyes, to pack a bag. "You can't just leave," Calla cried. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "You made your choice." Miles stepped forward. "This isn't how it was supposed to go." I almost laughed. "You thought I'd say yes," I whispered. "You thought I'd be too tired, too pregnant, to fight back." He said my name, soft, desperate. But I was already at the door, keys in hand. Lucinda's voice roared from the phone behind me. "Don't either of you dare leave that house." I opened the door anyway. Let the cold air hit my face. Let the silence rush in. Because whatever happened next would not happen in that house. Not under that name. Not with those people. V opened the door before I even knocked. "You ready?" she asked. No smile. I nodded, dropped the bag inside, collapsed onto her couch. She handed me soup, sat quietly while I ate. Not a single question. Just silence, safe, merciful silence. I stayed 3 days. Then I asked for help. "Do you still have that backup drive?" I asked her. "The one from your IT job." She did. Of course she did. We spent the next week collecting screenshots from my phone, camera clips from the doorbell, audio files from the nursery nanny cam. In one recording, Calla said, "She won't fight us. She's too soft." In another, Miles laughed. "She'll see, it makes sense. Biology doesn't care about feelings." They thought they were whispering. They didn't know the walls had ears. V organized everything into folders: timeline, proof, digital footprint. Then we printed a few key messages, put them in a manila envelope, taped shut with gold ribbon, made it look like a gift. We waited. The invitation arrived a week later. A blessing brunch at the Thorne family chapel to celebrate the coming child, mine. Lucinda sent it herself. She'd forgiven nothing, but appearances had to be maintained. "I need to be there," I told V. "You sure?" she asked. I was, because this wasn't revenge. It was reveal. I wore cream that morning, loose soft fabric over my belly, hair tied back, no makeup. Just truth. Walking on its own 2 swollen feet. Calla opened the chapel doors, surprised but smiling. "Fake fast. You made it," she said. I kissed her cheek, held her hand, let her believe. Inside, pews lined with people, deacons, women's circle members, Pastor Aldrich at the pulpit. Miles beside him, suited like salvation. He looked stunned to see me, but nodded, put a hand on my back, like he still owned the right. The brunch began, hymns, testimonies, a speech about faith, family, and the miracle of life. Then Miles stood up, cleared his throat. "Thank you all for being here," he began. Verena and I rose, touched his elbow. "Can I say something?" I asked. He hesitated, nodded. I walked to the mic, patted my belly, smiled at the crowd. "I'm grateful for the prayers," I said, "for the casseroles, for the crib you all helped build." Everyone nodded. Warmth spread like fire in dry leaves. "But there's something you all deserve to know." Silence. I opened my bag, pulled out the envelope. "This," I said, "is what family really looks like behind closed doors." I opened the envelope slowly. The ribbon slid off like a noose falling. I pulled out the first printout, held it up. 2 months ago, I said this message was sent at 1:14 a.m. Gasps fluttered through the pews. I read aloud. "Can't sleep without you. Her breathing kept me up." I turned to Pastor Aldrich. "To your son," I said. "From my sister." His lips parted, but no words came out. I held up the next page. A photo: Calla in our nursery, wearing my robe, her hand on my belly. The timestamp glowed at the corner. Murmurs rose like a storm gathering. "She said she just visited," someone whispered. "She never said she lived there." Calla stood frozen, face strained. I kept going, clip after clip, transcript after transcript. A recording played from my phone, clear, sharp. "Miles. She's already carrying one. We could have twins like cousins, but better. Calla, It's perfect. And she's too polite to say no. I watched Evelyn Thorne clutch her pearls. Lucinda looked ready to faint, but held it in, for the crowd. I stepped back from the mic. Let silence have the floor. Then I looked at Miles. Still think I'm too soft, I asked. He opened his mouth. Nothing. Calla stepped forward, tried to speak. I didn't mean, I raised a hand. You meant it enough to plan. A woman in the front row stood up. Mrs. Crenshaw, leader of the Sunday book club. She pointed a trembling finger. You let her prepare a crib while you schemed this. Pastor Aldrich cleared his throat, but his voice cracked. This is a matter for the family. No, I said firmly. It's a matter of truth. I picked up my purse, slid the envelope back in. Thank you all for the prayers. I turned to leave. Lucinda's voice rang behind me. Verena. I stopped. She stepped forward, eyes burning, but voice steady. Where will you go? I looked back at her. To a home where love isn't conditional. She nodded once, then turned to her son. You will support this child, she said coldly, generously, without protest, or you're no son of mine. Pastor Aldrich said nothing. He just sat down, hands shaking. Calla sobbed quietly. No one went to her. Miles stood alone, suit perfect, soul unraveling. I walked out of that chapel, my feet swollen, back aching, but spine straight. The sun hit my face, warm, true. V waited at the curb, engine running. She didn't ask how it went. She just opened the door and said, You did it. I nodded, but deep down I knew this was only the beginning. Miles didn't come home that night, not to his parents, not to V's, definitely not to me. He called once. I didn't answer. Then a message. Please, just talk to me. I deleted it. Calla tried too. Emails, texts, one voicemail crying. I messed up, but I still love you, Rena. I was just broken. I blocked her. There's only so much betrayal that forgiveness can hold. Lucinda brought groceries 2 days later. She didn't come inside. Just left them on V's porch. Taped to the milk carton was a check, no name, just numbers, and a note for Ivy's start. I folded it neatly, put it in the drawer, didn't cash it yet. Pastor Aldrich never spoke to me again. But rumor had it he stepped down from the pulpit for a season of reflection. Reflection. What a gentle word for public humiliation. The church went quiet for a while. Whispers replaced hymns. Miles vanished from Sunday service. Calla was last seen at a motel 3 towns over. Alone. Cheap hair dye. Sunglasses in the rain. I gave birth 6 weeks later. It was long, hard, complicated. But when Ivy Grace took her first breath, the whole room stilled. She looked nothing like her father, and everything like strength. Miles showed up at the hospital. Lucinda must have told him. He stood outside the room. I saw him through the glass, holding flowers, staring. He didn't come in. V stopped him, hands on his chest, firm. I never asked what she said, but he left and never came back. We moved 2 months later. Small town by the coast. No pews, no stairs, no Thorne legacy. I found a group for single mothers, women with eyes like mine, tired but still burning. We shared stories, laughed, healed. I started writing, first just a journal, then a blog. Then, a community. Expecting better, that's what I called it. Stories from women who'd been betrayed while pregnant, who rebuilt while broken. It grew. Thousands of readers, then meetups, then grants, then lawyers volunteering to help women start fresh. All from one truth, one betrayal, one voice that refused to stay silent. 3 years passed. Ivy started preschool. She made friends fast, loved dinosaurs and sour apples. One day I got a notification. A tag on social media, from Calla. A photo, her in white, beside Miles, looking stiff, trying too hard. Caption, New beginnings. Family is everything. I stared at it, let the weight settle in, then hit remove tag. Turned off my phone, and went outside where Ivy was chasing butterflies, laughing like nothing in the world could hurt her. She looked back at me. Come play mommy. So I did. Because family, it isn't who shares your blood. It's who would never ask you to bleed for them. I never told Ivy what happened. Not yet. She's too young, too full of light, too sacred for shadows that deep. But one day when she asks why there are no pictures of Daddy, why Auntie Calla is just a name on a legal document, I'll tell her the truth, the real kind. That I carried her with love, and almost carried someone else's betrayal beside her. That strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just walks away. That family isn't inherited, it's built. Choice by choice, heartbeat by heartbeat. I'll tell her she comes from fire and grace. That her name wasn't just pretty, it was a promise. Ivy Grace. A vine that grows even when the wall crumbles. A gift I claimed the moment I chose myself. Miles never saw her again. His choice, not mine. Calla sent one letter, long, crying in ink. I didn't read past the second paragraph. Forgiveness isn't owed just because someone's sorry. V stayed in our lives. Every birthday, every scraped knee. She showed Ivy what real family looks like. Messy, but never manipulative. Loud, but never lying. And me, I finally exhaled. Built something. Lived without apologizing for seeing too much, feeling too deep, and leaving too soon. Because if you wait for permission to protect yourself, you'll bleed where they'll never bandage. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you thought was family too? Was what Verena did cold, or was it justice served? Drop your vote, share your story, and subscribe for more real-life Reddit drama.